For the first example of user interaction, we will use scanner. Scanner is an object that belongs to the library java.util.scanner. This is probably one of the first times that we're gonna see this part. The import is the very first line of code that you should put in your code. Every program that you're gonna incorporate libraries as we speak has to be in the very first lines of code. The next thing is the Java library.util.scanner. The scanner part will invoke all the different attributes, methods, and functionalities from the library scanner. You can also incorporate the wildcard, also known as the asterisk. The asterisk means everything. Give me everything inside of the library util that belongs to Java. Only for purposes of explanation, we'll keep it with scanner. The next thing you have to do is to create an object. Java is an object orientation programming, and we'll talk about those in different videos. But for now, we'll show you how to create an object in the following format. Notice the following things. When we create a scanner, scanner should be capital S because it's an object. We will repeat the object scanner after the equal signs, uppercase, followed by the name. We call it input because we're going to interact with the computer user, and we call it input. The equal signs means initialization. We're going to create a new object scanner as follows. And inside of the parentheses, we have this part called system.in. Since we're interacting with the computer user through the terminal or command line, we need to use system.in. Scanner is a very sophisticated and complete object to interact not only with users, but also with files and scan strings, which we will talk about that later. After we create the object scanner on line 4, we will create an interaction with the computer user. Let's write a program that will ask the computer user what is their name, also what's their favorite food, and finally their age. All of them are questions. We should put some question marks. The next part is to extract that information from the computer user. On line 6, after we call what is your name, we're expecting some piece of information from the computer user, the name. So we might as well create a variable type string and its name that will come from input. I want you to pay attention on the following options. Here I'm using Visual Studio, so it provides us a couple of options. Here is suggesting next line, next end, and if you see the rest, there's more different methods or functionalities that we can use later on, including next double, next float, next short, you call it. Here, since we want to have a string, the name, we're going to use next line. Many people use next, open close parentheses, and you're welcome to use those as well. We use next line only for the sake that we would like to extract whatever is inside of that line. Followed by this order, the next statement, it will ask in the user, what is your favorite food? Which, by the way, we need to declare another variable. We call it food that will come from the computer user next line as well, because whatever food you provide must be a string. The next question is a little bit more tricky because it's very difficult to get it. But here, when you ask for a different data type, in this case, what is your age, we're expecting probably a number, a whole number. Therefore, we should create a variable called int, and we call it name. Now, pay attention what I'm gonna do here. When I put input, here we need to pay attention which method we would like to get. Next end will provide us or extract the integer value from the computer user response. That way we can get that value of age. To make this program a little bit better, we can also calculate the year they were born. And how do we do this? Well, we can create a variable called year, put in the value that we are. This is current year 2022, and we can subtract the age that we can get. That way we can calculate the year. There's a more effective way to do this automatically, which we will show you in a different video. But for now, let us just put 2022. The next thing is to create a message that combines all the user's input. For this, we will use the power of concatenation. Remember that concatenation is a technique in order to put things together or glue them together. Here's when you put the string along with other variables or different type of variables like integers or other strings. Let us create a response. Hi, pleased to meet you. And here we're gonna incorporate the name, maybe some dots. I also love, and then you can incorporate the food that they like. Make sure you put some affection there by using exclamation mark. Notice that here, I'm almost to the end of the line. Let me show you how to go to the next line. I usually put a plus sign and go to the next line to put the quotes. I bet you were born. And then we concatenate here the year. Okay? Give some feedback to the user. When you're done, we can do something as system out parent line with their response. Let us save, compile, and run this program. Here we have what is your name. This is line 5 displaying and requesting on line 6 expecting the next line. I will put here Christian because that's my name. I hit enter. Notice when I hit enter on line 6, whatever I enter, it will be stored on name. The next line to execute is line 7. What is your favorite food? Tacos, of course. When I hit enter, similar situation happened on line 8. When I hit enter, that value will be stored in the variable food. The last question is, what is your age? Here I will put 24. When I hit enter, Java is smart enough to extract the value integer. It will recognize that 24 is a whole number and it will be stored in age. After that, on line 10, once we got the age, we'll be subtract from 2022 to calculate the year, and that's why we got this comment. Hi, pleased to meet you, Christian. I also love tacos. I bet you were born in 1998, eh? You probably have seen this behavior before when you see these automatic messages, when you call to your cell phone provider, the bank, or when you want to pay a bill. Let us create a program. Now we're going to use JOptionPaint. Similar to Scanner, we need to import the library JavaX that swing JOptionPaint. Pay attention on the capital letters on JOptionPaint. In Java, we use camel case style. That's why we see this behavior between uppercase, lowercase, uppercase to simulate a camel hump. In JOptionPaint, we're not going to use Scanner. As a matter of fact, we're not even going to talk through the command line. We're going to use dialogues. We're still going to use the same conversation. Check this out. JOptionPaint.show input dialog will create a dialog that help us to retrieve information from the computer user through a GUI, graphical user interface. This helps us to interact with the computer user more user-friendly. The only difference is that we're gonna expect a very long line of code. What is your name is a string. So we should put here string name, we'll get the remaining, and we don't need this part. In similar fashion, we're gonna do it with food, which will follow the same concept that we had before. Similar with what's your age. I'm gonna comment out this lines of code just to show you how this works in terms of dialogues. I'm gonna save, compile, and run this program. This time we have these dialogues. These are JOptionPaint dialogues. Instead of retrieving information from the command line or the terminal, we're using information that will use Windows based on this graphical user interface. Here we can put Christian, what is your favorite food? Tacos. And my age, 24. Notice that we didn't have any response, primarily because we didn't do anything with that information. But I want you to pay attention in a couple things here. We're still interested to have this part, the response, which combines strings and year. But year, ladies and gentlemen, is not being calculated. If you pay attention, here we have an error. The operator is undefined for the argument type integer minus a string. We're trying to subtract an integer 2022 minus the age, which is a string. This cannot be done. Arithmetically speaking, this will give us an exception, which is what it shows here. In order to anticipate that problem, we need to transform the value of age, which is a string, into a whole number. This is called parsing. Parsing is the process of transforming a string into a different data type. We know that age is a string, and we want an integer. As a matter of fact, we want to subtract an integer minus an integer. That's why we need to use our friend's integer, the object. Integer, capital I. It's an object, similar to scanner, that will have methods. Here we can see parseInt. ParseInt takes a string as a parameter inside of the parentheses. This argument that we're passing should be transformed into a numeric value. So we're assuming that the value that we're passing is 8. It will be transformed into a number and then subtract that part there. The next step is to display the message. We're not going to use system out parent line. We would like to be consistent with the other ways we extract information by using JOption pane. This time, we don't want to use input. We want to show message dialog. Show message dialog requires you 2 parameters. Right now, we're going to use null and then the response, which is the message that we construct from line 9 and 10. JOption pane plays 2 important roles. The first one is to extract the input, which is what we did from line 4, 5, and 6. The other role is to display information. That's where we use show message dialog on line 11. Let's save, compile, and run this program and see what happened. What is your name? Christian. What is your favorite food? Tacos. What is your age? 24. Now we have this message. Hi, pleased to meet you, Christian. I also love tacos. I bet you were born in 1998. This way, we extract information using JOption pane dialogs, and we display that information by using JOption pane also by using show message dialog. The third form is by using the program arguments. I use our previous example as a template. This time, we're not interested to import any library. As a matter of fact, we're not interested to extract any information from the computer user. We will just assume it's given to us. So we need name, food, and age, but we will assume coming from args. Args, ladies and gentlemen, what you see on line 2, it's an array. An array is a collection of elements of the same data type. The indicator is this box used by the square brackets. Notice that everything will be string. So we will assume that the name, it will be at position 0 from the arguments. That will be our name. In similar fashion, we will assume that the food is in argument number 1, and finally the age on argument number 2. In Java, we start counting from 0. That's why Java is a zero-based indexing, and the values that we provide from array and strings, they always start with 0. We can leave line 7 to 9 as it is. The only thing this will change this time is to display. Very similar to what we did with the scanner. Let me save, compile, and before I run this program, I want you to pay attention how this is going to be run. Notice in the command line, after Java user interaction number 3, I will pass the arguments. In this case, the first one will be my name, then my favorite food, and finally my age. Those are the arguments. Christian will be in argument 0, tacos in argument 1, and the number 24 in argument 2. All of them there will be treated as string. That's why we needed to leave as it is line 7. Line 7, if you remember, it transforms whatever string into a whole number by using the parser integer.parseInt. You subtract it from 2022 in order to get the year. The rest remains the same. Let's hit enter. Hi, pleased to meet you, Christian. I also love tacos. I bet you were born in 1998.